All right, welcome everybody to the it's November Web Dev meeting for koha-US. We are going to talk about some stuff, and Barbara has something to share, so I'll let you go.
Okay, let me share my screen. Let's see. Can you see my staff side?
Sorry, I thought I unmuted. Yep, I can see Apple's
You're
number
able
12.
to, okay. So where it shows the holds number, we wanted to be able to draw more attention to things that actually have holds. So I cobbled together some jQuery, and I'm a real hit or miss kind of jQuery person. I kind of get the gist of things, but I don't always know how to put it together. So for this one, I wanted to find everything that had the holds 0. And basically, not touch those, but anything that had some kind of number. So I had to do all this stuff with like not and contains and stuff like that. So I've got the link. I actually also put it in the jQuery wiki, and that's
Yay.
my first time to do that. So I will put the link in the chat. And I wanted to, put some CSS, and the other part was the ID is, I think, reserve _, and then it's got the specific number for every bib, I guess. And so I had to do like, I think it's like a starts with command or something. So that ID with the caret, and I never really used that on my own before. And then combined it with the not, and then contains what I was looking for, and then the CSS. And I tried all kinds of things, and it didn't work. And then I finally, got the syntax right, and lo and behold, so now I can see this one has 0, but this one has 43, and this one has 0.
Brilliant. Yeah, you've got some good like general chunks in there. So you've got the wildcard selector. I always have to look those up, and I've never used not. So
that was the
great.
part that I had to look it up, and I got how it was supposed to work, but it was like making it work, it was difficult. So I went through, I went to like your OPAC and Christopher's OPAC and viewed the source. It's like, do they have any of that in any of theirs? And somewhere I found something, and it's like, okay, there's a little bit of an example. And I just kept trying things until it finally worked. So that was I think that's my first more difficult putting things together jQuery that feels sort of like I did it on my own. So
Excellent. Good job. I have a question. You have those little book icons on your cover images. What are those?
Those are from Christopher. He did that in his OPAC, and then he did it in the staff interface as well. And so that, let me find that.
Is it just like a item type representation?
Yeah,
icon?
it's looking for the item. No, not OPAC, sorry. Let's see. I always forget what it's called in here. thinking it's somewhere near the top, but I'm not sure. I think it's got something like materially. Yeah, I think it's this one. So it's looking for the different formats somehow. And this was one, Christopher put it together. So, you know, this is where I look at something, it's like I kind of understand it, but I couldn't create this on my own.
Yeah. It must be pulling it from like the material type in the description. See, what I'm trying to do is I've got custom XSLT that pulls in like Blu-ray or DVD or VHS from the 007. But I don't want to use custom XSLT anymore because it's a pain. Because anytime we have an update, then I have to go in and add in all the new stuff they've added to my own custom sheet. So I'd like to use the API for that, but I don't know if you can pull encoding fields from the API, or if it's just mark data. And then I'm also doing that with series. We talked about this last time about how the series is in the XSLT now, so I shouldn't need it, but I forgot afterwards that I had broken the tracing on that because we don't like it when it searches the series and the author at the same time. That gives us too narrow of a result.
Right.
So in my custom sheets, I had broken the tracing so it just puts up the title of the series. So I think I can use the API to do that with that code that we've played with in the past. But I'm still having some problems with it.
Yeah.
So I'll probably have to open a ticket with Lucas, which I was planning to do the last month and didn't. This one. Okay, are you seeing my got purple background kind of?
Yeah.
I did get my OPAC pretty lined out since the upgrade. So I've got the new footer in place and I made some accessibility improvements to this. I think I've talked about that in the past. The search results is something that I hadn't really worked on much, and I think I probably still have some polishing to do. Also, it does this weird little blip because I've moved things around on the screen, and I don't like that. I want to try and fix that somehow. But I just completely killed. I had so much chunk code in my OPAC, so I kind of took it all out and put back the important stuff. But I redid this section because I like having the cover images on the left instead of the right. So I think what I did was I added bootstrap classes to these so that it's like I guess I can show. So I used jQuery to add the boot class strap. So this is column small 2, and then this section is here somewhere. Column, nope, that's that one. So I added column small 10 to this one. So it's getting its sizing from that, and laying out the page a little better. And then I also moved the ratings over here. And then what I was talking about earlier, some Blu-rays. So I've added in these little icons with the XSLT, and I've also put that over there in the summary area. But that's the thing I want to try and stop relying on it for. But you can't get it anywhere over here. Like a lot of times you can get format codes and things like that out of the description that's there. But that one's hiding in the 007, so I have to pull it out of the database, which is slightly frustrating. What else did I do here? So this is the same. We've broken out like the holdings into a little table just so it's a little bit of better visual. I chopped off all the extra verbiage. So my library names are things like Columbus Public Library, Fredonia Public, Howard City, that sort of thing. So I've got jQuery in there to chop those down to just the library name because I thought it was too
that's
wordy.
nice.
On this page, I haven't done a lot. I did, so Novelist is something that we subscribe to. And my Novelist stuff kind of broke at some point and I never really fixed it. So I cleaned that up a little bit. It's loading really slow right now. I'm not sure what that's about. Novelist does that sometimes.
Well, on Tuesday, I think it was, Novelist data seemed to just not be there at all. And I checked with a couple of other libraries to see, you know, was it just us? And it looked like it wasn't working for other libraries either. So I think something did happen.
Yeah, they're having some problems or something. But yeah, so I've added this button. I used to have like a little floaty thing here, but it wasn't very good on mobile. So I just added a button here that jumps you down to the Novelist content. And the rest of this is pretty unmodified. I did notice there's some buggy stuff going on with this box, and I think there are bugs out there for it, but like when it looks like this, if you click back to results, it's actually generating a RSS feed link. So it doesn't go back to the results. And I don't know if that's something that I did or if it's like a bug, but it doesn't always come up that way. Like, if I click on it, see now it looks different. It doesn't have that like broken look. So this one works. So that took me back to the browse page. And the next and previous are lit up. So it actually works. But if I go further down the page, I don't know. I haven't figured out exactly what causes it yet. Because if I went to Pest Fest earlier and see it's fine now. So I haven't been able to replicate the behavior, but it does happen semi-frequently. Oh, the other thing I fought with was the pagination. Let me get a longer list. The pagination on mobile was throwing off how wide the screen was. So I have to reload the page. It doesn't switch when you switch. I have some code that switches when you switch. This one's not one of them. So if you load it up on a mobile device now, I've taken away all the pagination except for the next and previous buttons. Otherwise, without it, the numbers kind of trail off the screen over here and it makes the screen jiggle back and forth.
Oh.
And maybe that's just a me problem too, but it didn't, also the numbers you can't really hit with your thumb very well on a screen. So I just thought having the previous next buttons was a better solution for this experience. And I think that's pretty much it. The rest of this kind of just trickles down from the regular screen. Like since I put them in the Bootstrap columns, it's automatically become responsive enough to put that where I want it, which is nice. And I'm sure I've made other adjustments, but those are the main ones. So that's what I've done on the upgrade type thing. That's not at all related to things that came in the upgrade. I'm trying to remember what else, like what other questions and issues I've had come up. Most of the stuff my libraries have sent me has been things that weren't upgrade related. It was more of a, they remember I exist, so they started sending me things. I guess I do have one. The notices you get when you check things in, the modals that pop up, I've broken those in the past. So I think there's a system preference now that lets you not block the screen if it's a transfer, but it does block the screen if it's a hold. And that's basically what I broke it to do. So my broken version of it, now it's like duplicating the messages. So if there's a transfer, it's giving you that message that I may still have this pulled up. Let me see. I don't, but I bet I can make it happen. Ooh, what did I just do? Did you know if you double click on Zoom, it makes it full screen?
No, I didn't know that.
Neither did I. All right. So I think I'm over here now. Are you seeing cross large print by Patterson?
Yes.
Okay. So when I check this in, I'm in Iola, this is Haplobrook. So this is what's currently broken. I have it turned off in my test system right now. So let me get that turned back on. Break. Yeah, these are the notes that people probably suffer through when they're looking at my stuff. Break the transfer modal things. So I had that commented out. If I comment it back in and then check that in. So I have it up here and then it's duplicating down here. So I'm trying to decide if I just need to unbreak it and turn on that system preference, or if I need to hide it if it's a duplicate thing. Because if you have it just running off the system preference, it's going to do what it did before. And the reason it's back there is because when you clear the modal, you still have that information on the screen. Okay. So I don't know. The complaint I got was it's duplicating, but I don't know if it's important for it to duplicate or not. So I haven't really decided how I want to handle it.
Yeah.
But I think maybe I'll just go to it makes more sense to just go along with Koha's behavior and not keep it broken, I think. So that's something else I'm working on with jQuery, or working to not rely on jQuery for.
I do have some jQuery. Let me share my screen again. And this wasn't related to this upgrade. It was, I don't know, several months back. Anyway, in the OPAC, the title, if you're displaying just the title there and not the author, there's always that trailing slash, and that just bothers me. It's like, why is that there? It looks stupid. It doesn't look clean.
It's catalographer language that the patrons don't really care about, right?
It's just like, and so it really bothered me. So Lucas created this jQuery to get rid of that trailing slash. And it's such a small thing, but to me, it just makes it look so much cleaner. And someone else had asked me, what did you do there? And it's like, well, Lucas did that. And here's what it is to do that. So that was kind of handy.
Yeah, I'm going to have to harvest that one. All right. What else do we have to talk about? Jen or Kristen, do you have anything you want to share, or questions that we can try and answer?
I don't have any questions. I'm new at my job, and so I'm just lurking to try and learn everything I can.
Okay, that's cool.
Which library are you at, Jen?
Actually, I work at Hershey Company.
Oh, okay. Ooh, cool. Yum. Kristen, what library are you from? All right. It's good to see new people.
Yes. Usually it's just me and Barbara and Lucas, and I'm not sure where Lucas is today. So
Yes, every once in a while he just doesn't show up. So
which is okay.
yeah. Yeah.
What else can we talk about?
Let's see.
I'm looking through my recently added junk in my system preferences. Oh, I did put that series stuff back in. So that's duplicating on my test server now.
Well, I guess I do have maybe a question. Let me get to a safe patron here and then I'll. Okay. In Texas, we're required to ask all new library card holders if they want to get a voter registration card or not. And we're supposed to do that as a routine, across the desk transaction when we're issuing the card, but it's often forgotten. So we created an authorized value. We have all of our patrons self-register. They, if they come up to the desk and it's like, what do I need for a library card? We take them over to a station that's right by the desk and we tell them to fill out the form and then come back to the desk with their driver's license, and then we'll complete the process. So this value is on the self-registration form and it's a required value. They either have to say yes or no. Mm-hmm. So then they get back to the desk and the value is there and filled in, but staff and I made it red to stand out, but staff are still having issues with, seeing it or paying attention to it or whatever. So I was trying to think of, ways to make it obvious to them. And I haven't worked on this in a while. I did come up with something and it did work. But then every time you went in to go into a patron record to edit it or look at something, you would have to answer. I don't remember what I did, but maybe I did a pop-up or something. You would be, confronted with this thing that I put in there that then made just other kinds of editing painful for staff. So it's like, well, that's not really going to work. That's not the best way. But, I think I said something like, if the value is yes, then do something. And I'd have to go back. But this morning I was thinking something silly like, if the value is yes, turn something a color or something like that would not be, some kind of actionable thing that would then stump staff when they're doing other things when they happen to be in a patron record. I don't know. So that's something I'm just trying to think how to make it obvious.
Yeah, I think I would have done the same approach as your earlier thing, but that would get annoying if you're editing, because like you could definitely tell it to pop up an alert if it says yes, like when they go to click save or something.
And I may have, made it something like it clicked up an alert that said, you have to deal with this or you can't proceed or something like that. I think I put some real like blocking behavior in there.
Yeah.
And so then they're like, we can't deal with this. So like, okay.
Yeah, I wonder if just like you can change the background color of that whole section maybe.
Yeah.
You could have it, you could even add some extra verbiage on the right or something in big bold letters that says, did you make sure to do your voter registration part of this.
Because like we've got a thing here, we have that automatic resetting of the password, I guess it is. So if they replace the library card, this one, they've lost it, you scan in a new number, but people would scan in the new card number here and then just save.
And not change it down below.
And if they scan in a new card number here and like press enter or tab or, advance to another field, it'll take care of everything down here. But if they scan it in and say save, then you've got, a card number here and a different card number here, and it doesn't take care of the password and everything. So we have this big, long, instructional thing. I could maybe come up with something like that. I don't know.
I wonder if on that one, if you could add like a mouse event. So whenever they move their mouse at all, it updated the other fields. Because it sounds like you've already got like a tab event that does it. So maybe there's something there with just mouse moving. I don't know. But yeah, you could have something like that. But even easier than that, since the value's already in there, all you'd have to do is check the value and then change something, add something. You could even change the background color of the whole page or something, and then that could be the signal to the staff.
Yeah, so I need to get back to that one because they keep telling me, I don't think that's working. And it's like, you're right. Well, I took out the jQuery, but they were still thinking that it was somehow going to alert them. And then they said, I don't think it's doing anything to catch that. It's like, you're right. I had to take it out.
Ooh, maybe you could, like if it says yes, change the color of the save bar and append it up there in bold, like next to the cancel button, append something that says patron check yes for voter registration card or something like that. So that it's right, their eye is going to go to that save button, so they'll see it up there. But they won't have to actually click through things to save it if it doesn't need taken care of.
That's a thought. That sounds more complicated, but
I don't think so. I mean, all you're doing is, so you're changing the CSS of that bar up there, and then you're doing like a dot append and then the HTML of whatever you want to say. So it shouldn't be too bad. The tricky part is what you've already got done, which is if it says yes, do something. If it doesn't say yes, don't do something.
Yeah. Okay. I shall think about that.
Your mention of self-registration reminded me that I did do some work on that page, so I can show off what I've done there. Our big project with some of the ARPA money is redesigning websites for all of our member libraries that want them. And one of the things that we're doing with that is encouraging them to use the self-registration, a link to self-registration on their website. So they can have like a get a card link on their website that shoots them over to Koha. So we kind of did a review of our self-registration page and decided it needed shoring up basically. So one thing that I did was change the heading to say register for a new library account.
That's a good idea.
Because often people will come here when they forget their password. So I wanted to make it clear that that's what they're doing right now. And then I also added a second line that takes them to the password recovery page, just to kind of reinforce that this is a new account. If you already have an account, you can get your password back. One thing we don't do here, because we're a consortium and it just doesn't work, is automatically generate card numbers. So anytime that someone was self-registering, it was giving them a blank card number, and then you had to go in and add a card number if you wanted to delete it, because Koha doesn't like it if your cards don't have card numbers. So one of the things I added here, and I don't know if you can actually see it in the background. So the card number field is still there and it's hidden. All right, it is filling it in too. So if I unhide those two fields, so the expiration date is just there. I just hid that because it doesn't do anything. So I added some jQuery kind of hiding in the background for the card number. And I just built the string using the term self-reg. And then this is like month, date, minute, hour, second, and then millisecond. So there's a very, very small chance that two people doing it at the same time are going to get the same number generated there. And then since it's prepended with self-reg, it's easy for us to know that that was something that was created. This is wildly different from what our card numbers are, because they're always 14 digits and they always have a specific prefix for each library. So I added that.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay. I should share some of my stuff like you did. In the wiki, I mean. I'm so bad about not getting to the wiki with my stuff, but I can show you what the code looks like. And it's an opaque thing. So this is the swapping the self-registration. So I added some wording on those little pop-ups too. That's the header text that we talked about. Oh, here's the part that pre-fills the number. So we're declaring the date. We're saying this is right now is the date, which then lets us kind of pull pieces out of it. So this is the input field that you see here. And then I'm setting a value, and that value is building a string using things from the date. So you can see it's adding that self-reg, and then it's saying from now, which is my date, I want to get the month. And then I add 1 for the month because it's 0 index. So January is 0, but I wanted it to be more reflective of current date. So I added the 1 there. And then it's getting the date, the year, hours, minutes, seconds, and then milliseconds, which should always give me a unique number theoretically. So it's really not a big complex piece of code to do that, and it took me a little bit to figure it out, but not too bad. Another thing I did on this page is blank out the home library, because we were having a lot of people register as Altamont Public Library because that was what was selected. So now since it's blank, they have to pick something. I hid some of the fields with there's a new system preference that lets you decide, maybe this one's not that new, what fields show up here. So I hid some of those. But we still have some required fields and just the standard stuff. We do also have the alternate address and contact fields active on the form, though I don't feel like people registering accounts themselves are gonna use that very often. So I just collapsed those using a little extra jQuery. It's not as smooth as I'd like when you recollapse it. I don't know what's going on there. And then the little flippy arrow thing is actually CSS, which I figured out. I was excited to figure out. Opaque user. So it's just a data toggle here. So I'm adding the collapse class to those headers, and then this is swapping the icon for the up arrow versus the side arrow when you click it.
Okay.
And then there's another field that I hid in here, and you saw that sort of in the jQuery. I'm also pre-filling the Kansas library card number, which is a frustration point for me because this form shares the same guts basically as the patron modification form. So if the patron already has an account and they want to go update their information, it's sharing the same form. So on that form, I want them to be able to enter their state library card number because that's what hooks them up to Cloud Library. But on this form, I don't expect the patron to know that or possibly even have one. But it's a required field because we had to set it up that way to make the Cloud Library thing work. Mm-hmm. So I've gone in and also generated a placeholder dummy number for that that the staff then can go in and take out after the account has registered. And what else did I do here? So this is the code that collapses those alternate fields. So it's just wrapping those headers in a link that has a certain class that then behaves that way. I also added that note at the bottom. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to use Bootstrap more. So like, because it's already built into Koha, all I have to do is add that Bootstrap button class of BG warning, and it's doing the formatting for me that matches what else might be a warning in Koha. So mm-hmm. I'm trying to save myself some time and headache recreating the wheel up here in the CSS blocks by using those classes. And then after they're done registering, I also took away that dummy number because it doesn't mean anything. So I just hid that field there. So I did do minor slight overhaul modifications for that form, but I think it's more useful now. And then on the staff client, I also added in to the pending area, I tied in a report that shows how many self-registration requests are outstanding there.
Oh, nice.
Because otherwise, the only way we really know a patron has self-registered is either we run a report deliberately to do that, which is what this link does. Mm-hmm. But most of my libraries aren't in that mindset. Or the patron comes in themselves and comes to kind of upgrade their account. So this way we've got a little extra tracking. And one of my next projects is to get this stuff over here, because often you have to scroll down to see it, especially on my libraries that don't necessarily have giant monitors. So I want that to be like the first thing they see, all the stuff they need to be paying attention to on the screen. So I'm going to work on just shoving that up there. Shouldn't be too hard.
Yeah, that's great. Because we do have a report that they go and look at to see, self-registrations, and we get a lot of self-registrations from other places named Bedford. There are lots of Bedfords. There's a Bedford, Bedfordshire or whatever. We get them from England. So we regularly go into that report, and clean stuff out, because it's kind of like, you got the wrong place.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and ours is set up to wipe them out after 14 days. We've got that cron job running, but it hasn't always been consistent. And I think part of the problem is we allow them to place holds. So I don't know that Koha's deleting cards that have outstanding holds. And also the fact that it doesn't have a card number in there, I think is preventing that deletion from happening. Because if you try to delete it on your own, you get an internal server error if it doesn't have a card number in there.
We came up this week or last week, we had someone who registered for a new card, and they immediately placed some holds in the OPAC. Mm-hmm. And then we pulled the holds, but then I can't remember what the problem was. Something happened. And then we ended up we were going to cancel a hold and, just redo it because it was all messed up. And on the staff side, because the patron didn't have a card number, we couldn't place a hold. It just wouldn't let us do it. And so CERC staff said, yeah, that happens every once in a while. And, we have this other kind of process. But if I took what you did with your self-registration and your month and date and seconds and everything, then that would at least have something unique in there, and staff could deal with stuff on their side, right?
Yeah, so everything will work because there's something in the field. So
cool.
Yeah, I can definitely share that. At least with the notes for this meeting, if not, if I get around to adding things to the wiki. I guess I didn't mention on the staff client self-registration link thing, it's generating the number from one report. So the count is coming from a report, and I'm pulling that in with jQuery, and then the link actually goes to a different report to give them a list of who that number is associated with. But it's all, we are a consortium, so it's all running off of the logged in branch. So they just see their stuff, which I never really thought about in the past, because it's been like a long-standing problem that the purchase suggestions show up for everybody. Like you get everybody's count and then you go there and it's not there. I could have easily done the same thing as I did with the self-registration link with purchase suggestions like years ago. But now that this upgrade brought us the division on that link, I don't have to anymore. So, oh well. All right. Any other cool stuff we want to show off? Questions, bugs, brainstorming things? I think I'm dry. I'm out of stuff to share.
But we came up with a fair amount of stuff, so.
Yes, we almost filled the whole hour.
I know.
So go us.
Yes, thank you for sharing.
Well, I think we worked hard, and it's 12:50, and we should take that extra 10 minutes for ourselves.
I agree. Excellent. All right, so I'm gonna stop the recording.